Quiet on the set. We're ready.
She's now an advocate against domestic violence, hoping to create a home for victims here in Pensacola.
And when I turned back around, a shotgun was facing me and he shot me.
Williams was shot in the stomach, killing her unborn baby she had named Jamie.
She saved my life. You're not alone. You're not alone. And if I came out, you can come out.
All right, welcome, folks, to another edition of No More Silence. I got my special guest here, my tag team partner, Mrs. Carolyn Williams. Carolyn, welcome to another edition, okay?
Hi, Vernon. Hi, Vernon. We are ready. Oh, my. I got a guest retreat for you guys tonight. Also, what we're doing tonight, we're doing phone call in. We didn't do it last month, but we're doing it this month. So if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask my guest, you can call in at 850-291-4624. That's 850-291-4624. So, Verna, I am ready for my guest to come on.
Right on. There you go. Introduce your guest to us, Carolyn.
All right, Verna. This is Dr. Tawana House. We go way back. I am so honored to have her on tonight. She's going to give you a little information about herself, and we're going to get right into the program. Welcome, Tawana. I am so glad to have you with me tonight.
Well, thank you, Evangelist, for the honor and the opportunity to be with you all and to be with your viewing audience tonight. So, my name is Dr. Tawana House. I am from Pensacola, Florida. As you can see, my background, I am in a car on the passenger side still right now, but that's because I'm traveling doing what I love. I'm actually here in Tampa, Florida right now for the Ascend conference that we're having for our jurisdiction for Church of God in Christ, Southwest Florida. So I do a lot with pastors and leaders, and also a lot when it comes to mental health advocacy, but also when it comes to mental health and healing. I have my own nonprofit called Beacon of Hope Champions Ministries, LLC, that's been in existence for 10 years, focusing on mental health and ministry, mental health and faith. And I'm also the director of programs for the National Alliance of Mental Illness, NAMI, the Emerald Coast affiliate that covers the 4 counties within the Northwest Florida Panhandle. So thank you for having me today.
I am so happy that you're with us on tonight. So, Tawana, what we're going to be, what we're talking about is no more silence with domestic violence.
Yes.
You know my story. You're familiar with my story. And I want to start by saying that I'm sure that you're familiar with domestic violence also. Is that correct?
It is.
Tell us a little bit
Actually,
about it.
okay, well, I'm familiar with it because I was in 3 marriages. I was married 3 times. And each of those 3 marriages, I experienced domestic violence in some way, whether it was psychological, whether it was mental, sometimes financial. But the last marriage I was in, when I was married for 13 years, I dealt with the physical part of it as well as the psychological part of it, and as well as dealing with narcissistic abuse as well. So I have been dealing with that pretty much. If you collectively add the years up of me being married, it was close to like 20 years collectively. And so I've dealt with the abuse from that standpoint, to the point that I felt like it was just normal. But the last marriage I was in, unfortunately, my youngest son saw me endure that. So that's been my experience with domestic violence.
Okay, you said narcissistic abuse. What is
Hmm.
that? Tell
Well,
tell us a little bit about
yeah, I could. What I can tell you about being narcissistic is basically the gist of it is that a person feels like they're never wrong. But if they're trying to talk to someone about, they're wrong and what their wrongdoing is, they're very cruel in it, their manner, very controlling, very manipulative to the point that they make you feel like that you have to be a certain way for them to be pleasing to them. But really, narcissism basically is they love what they can do for themselves, but not necessarily love what they can do for others. And so, usually, what happens with that is that that's because the person hasn't really processed or refuses to process their own pain and their own emotions. And so, I endured that for a while because I tried to fit a particular mold that my ex wanted me to be in, but that was never authentically who I was. So obviously anything that I was trying to do was never going to be good enough. So when I did do things, it would be belittled. It would be like, well, why did you do that? Why did you ask me? I don't like this. And I'm thinking I'm trying to be thoughtful and kind. And he didn't know how to embrace it. He thought I was trying to be manipulative. And that's not who I am.
it. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Okay, you
Hmm.
said that you had three relationships dealing with
Hmm.
domestic violence. Okay,
Yes.
so okay, I can see one, I can see two. Okay, the third one. Did
Yeah.
you ever recognize that this is what it was, or what? Did you recognize this was domestic violence, or what? What kept you getting into the three relationships of domestic violence, the same thing over and over again?
The reason why I was getting into those relationships is because I was afraid of being alone. I
Wow.
was afraid of being alone. That's what it was. Because the thing was that, okay, as long as I have somebody, right? Somebody in my space that could make me feel like I'm loved in the moment, then I could deal with all the other stuff. I thought I could tolerate it. I thought that maybe I had enough in me, in the love I have in me, that maybe things would be different and things would change. But that wasn't true. And that was because a lot of my own depression that I had not dealt with myself. That was a lot of on my own mental issues that I didn't realize until I was 35 that I was actually dealing with, that I needed to finally deal with. And I just realized that I'm like, wait a minute. And it happened when I got out of this last marriage. I realized that I was the common denominator in all of it. I had to accept that I made the choices I did to be in the relationships I was in. So I thought that being abused was normal to me. I thought that dysfunction was normal. I thought that, okay, if he berates me or if he belittles me or if he talks about me or he teases me or any of that, I thought that was normal. At least he's still in my bed at night. But that I realized that cycle had to end with me realizing nobody loves you by hurting you. Nobody loves you by hurting you.
Okay, if you want to call in, it's 850-291-4624. You said something, and that was something that I had to realize, Dr. Tawana, is that, I kept blaming all the person that was abusing me. But then I
Mhm.
started looking at, wait a minute, Carolyn, you are the common denomination. What is
Mhm.
wrong with you? And I
Right.
realized that it stemmed back from my childhood, not having a father, not knowing what love was because I never experienced that. So when someone was
Mhm.
abusing me and trying to control me, I thought that that was really normal because
Normal.
I never experienced love. And it's what we always say, looking for love in all the
All the
wrong.
wrong place. Oh, the
And
wrong
you can
places.
never do you agree with this? You can never be healed as long as you keep uh if you keep how I want to say this, if you keep on blaming your abuser. You
Yes.
have to take
Yes.
ownership. You have to take ownership. What part in that? And you said something. You said, loneliness. You was lonely. So you just stayed there because you was lonely. And not only being lonely is not loving yourself.
Right. Right. And
Brother, did you want
also
to get in
another
here?
factor. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Vernon, you want to jump in here
Yeah, I
as
do.
a man?
I do. I really do. When you, I'll tell you now. Let me bring my camera down a little bit. That narcissistic behavior that that you experience. Okay, I
Hmm.
know what you're talking about because I know people like that. Okay, and how did you deal with that though? I mean, because when people have narcissistic, that's a behavior that they're not going to change. That's just who they are, in a sense.
Hmm.
So, how did you deal with that?
Well, I'm going to tell you what's unique in my situation. I was dealing with that at the same time being a pastor's wife. At the
Whoa,
same
whoa,
time
Mm.
being,
whoa! Really?
oh
I mean,
yes,
I
oh
mean,
yes,
question now.
oh
Let me back.
yes.
The question was, so pastor? You mean to tell me pastors? I didn't know this until the last show, Carolyn. Maybe I assume people, men and women of the cloth, didn't get partake of that kind of stuff. Okay, I thought they knew. Y'all learning me something, teaching me something new. I didn't realize that.
Because they're
Uh,
human, Vernon. That's what it
yeah,
is. They're human, just like anybody else. And just as
Mm-hmm.
anybody else, we're prone to error.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, especially because I'm just going to say it, the reason why Beacon of Hope even exists now is that my focus is on helping people to be mentally and emotionally well so they can spiritually grow. If you're not mentally well, it doesn't matter how much you preach on Sunday or Wednesday or anything. None of that stuff is going to click for real until you're well inside. And so I say that to say this, that being a pastor's wife at that time, and my ex was an elder, and then he got elevated to bishop, then he got elevated to apostle. I got
Ooh.
elevated to elder, and eventually I've elevated to pastor. But I was dealing with a lot of that behind the scenes because I thought, okay, I need to suffer this way for the sake of the people, right? For the sake of the
Hmm.
people. Because, we had a church. We had an
Right.
enduring church. And I'm talking about family members, I'm thinking about loved ones, because I understand that when you take on a role as a pastor, you're taking on a role of basically covering and oversight of people.
Hmm.
And if you were to have that breakup of a church happen, it's going to affect them. Everything as us as leaders not only affects us individually, but it affects our families. It affects everything we're connected with. And
Mm.
so dealing with that, this is what I've learned. When you refuse to deal with your emotions and you're deflecting everything else on the other people, thinking that's justification for you to continue in your dysfunctional narcissistic behavior.
Hmm.
You're becoming a man, a God, you're becoming a pastor that doesn't have no love, doesn't have no empathy for people, have no patience, and yet you're angry. You're angry as a pastor. And that's not healthy because Jesus' ministry was always built on love and empathy. It was never built on anger. It was never built on hate. But if you don't have that mindset, because like my ex would know how to be all loving and caring and all this stuff in church because that's familiar territory. But get him out of that and he's at home. It's almost like Dr. Jekyll I saw in church and Mr. Hyde I get at home.
Mm. Wow.
So
Wow.
it is real. It is real. There are a lot of narcissistic leaders that we have in the body of Christ. And the thing is, because a lot of times these men of God, or sometimes women of God, come into this situation for the wrong reasons. Because if they haven't dealt with their own hurt and pain, they'll turn around and try to use that stuff and try to manipulate other people in their position thinking, well, because I'm in this position, they need to respect what I say. Because I'm in this position, I'm going to manipulate this the way I want. And that was never God's intent. He said lead in love. He didn't say lead in control and manipulation. No. But I dealt with that for 13 years of my life. And I realized in that moment that every day, the reason why I kept going, kept doing what I'm doing was really not only for the church, but for my children. But at the end of the day, I realized I kept pouring out of an empty cup because nobody was pouring into me. Because what narcissists known to do is to take. They don't give. They don't give nothing. They'll take. They'll take everything, but they won't give.
Okay.
Not at all.
Well, as you saying this, my heart is aching because there are so many pastor wives that are going through this, and
Yes.
they feel like they have nobody that they can talk to. One of the things when you were saying that, when my husband and I got ready to close the church, he was dealing with some illness and got ready to close the church. And one of the things he kept saying, he said, what about the people? What about the people? His heart went out for the people. And this is what God spoke to me. And I told him, God told me, he said, they never belong to you guys. I just allow you guys to shepherd them. And that's where, if you're in this abusive relationship, that's what you have to realize is that you're not to stay in there because of the people, because sooner or later you're going to leave anyway. Or either you're not being true to thy own self. You're not, because it's other women, other men that are going through the same thing that you're going through. And if someone could say something, they're just waiting for someone to say something so that they can be able to come out. Because we throw scripture out. You're supposed to stay with your husband. You ain't supposed to get a divorce. No, you are to love your wife as Christ loved the church, and your husband. So there are so many women that are coming, that stand in that relationship because they feel like, okay, because what about the people? And not thinking about, what about you? They can end up killing, they are killing you. He was killing you mentally, physically, emotionally. You see what I'm saying? So, we have to get beyond this. And I thank God for this, that you have this NOMI organization where, we always believe that God is going to do in everything. Mental health is important. It is very, very important when you're in that relationship and when you come out of that relationship. Speak to us about that. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Hold on. I think that's my fault there.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So when I came out of that relationship and I finally got into a place of peace in my life, I finally said to God, okay, look, I'm all right. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of doing it my way. I want to do it yours. Whatever you tell me to do, we're going to do that. And so it was during that time that God led me to relaunch my Beacon of Hope Champions ministry, because it was kind of idle for a minute because of what I was going through in my life. And it was because of me starting that out, of launching it really on nothing, that things started to begin to change for me. Because what God was saying was that your breaking was part of the plan. Breaking is part of becoming whole. See, that's the piece that people don't talk about. Is that you have to be broken down in order to be made better. But nobody
Ooh.
likes that because you're thinking like by your spine, the way you are is enough. But no, 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 no. In order to heal and to continue to heal for the rest of your life, you have to go through a breaking. And it's going to continue to be that way at night, because life is going to hit us hard. And for me, my life hit hard with the losses I had, the loss of the marriage, the loss of the church, the loss of my 18-year-old son due to an
Yeah.
accidental overdose on fentanyl. All those losses that I was enduring. How do you come up from that? Do you
Mm,
come up from that? Can you come
mm,
up from that? Do you want to come up from that? I felt like at times I felt like I didn't want to live. But I had to be mindful of the fact that, wait a minute, I still got to be here for my child. And at the same time, I have attempted 3 suicides in my lifetime and they were incomplete. And the last one that I completed was when my youngest son was in my stomach. And it was because of him moving, I chose not to do it. So with that, I was like, God, what's the point? What's the point? And he was like, you got to be the one to tell them that you can come out of this. You got to be the one to say, I may not have been able to save my son because of a choice, but you can help somebody's parents. They can save their children. You got to be the one to say that it's all right to admit that something is wrong with you're not mentally well in church and not think that you're crazy or think it's an issue because you don't believe enough. No, you can say it. It's okay. You can be the one to say that there are pastors who have thought of harm, self-harm, or suicide. 1 in 6 the other year, a couple years ago. You can be the one to say, yeah, it exists, but we can deal with it. We can deal with it. We need to stop acting like that God is looking for us to be completely perfect when He knows we're not. We need to realize that He created us with a mind, will, and emotions. So guess what? If He has created us that way, He also created us with feelings.
mm. So, Tawana, we have a call, dear, and someone want to ask you a question. And the question
Sure.
is, how long into the relationship did you encounter the abuse, and was there similarities in each in your three abusers' background? This is what they want to know.
There, interestingly enough, the backgrounds were similar in a way, especially in the marriage situation with like they each had both of their parents. They did. But I noticed, it's interesting you bring this up because I'm actually paying attention to this right now. I
Mm.
noticed how the mother in each of my ex's lives was a factor in how they treated women.
Wow.
What
The,
do
the
you?
relationship, the
Oh,
relationships
come
with
on,
their
girl.
mothers
Oh,
was not on the best of terms in each of those relationships.
Hmm.
Now that I think about it, yeah, yeah.
wow. You
And
know,
but and
go ahead. Go ahead. This is
I was
good. Go
going.
ahead.
I was going to say, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but what I was going to say was, I believe the reason why I dealt with the abuse like I did is because, in a sense, I was a reflection of what their mom was like.
Whoa.
So I was catching maybe more of what they thought their mother should get because of that relationship they had with them, and I noticed that. And so, yeah, that's the similarity.
Um,
Wow. You,
question,
um,
question.
go ahead. Go
If,
ahead. Go ahead, Vernon.
like you say, this is good. I'm enjoying this.
This is good.
Okay,
She gonna have to come
go
back. You know she gonna have
because
to come back.
Yes, ma'am.
well,
Okay.
yeah. Or we can continue. We can continue on. We don't want to cut it short. Okay.
Okay.
But let me ask you this again. Back to the. Okay. Help me understand this now.
Sure.
So the mother factor. That's those are the three common denominators in your in that relationship that you notice those
hmm
traits. So
Yes.
the thing that confusing me right now, or maybe I didn't get the full comprehension of it, is that were they? Are you saying to me that they too was abusive to their mother, or how, how did that mother relationship and this abuse ties together? Help me
Well,
unravel that.
I won't. Okay. Well, let me help you understand what I mean by that. Not
Okay.
so much abusing as far as what was in that marriage, so to speak. Because like the last marriage I was in, my ex mother-in-law did go through abuse with her now ex-husband. And let me say this: the one was a superintendent at Church of God in Christ, and the mother was a district missionary
Okay.
or evangelist. Excuse me. All right. Now, I will say that each of the mothers, in a way, were controlling.
Hmm.
They were controlling.
Okay.
Very
What?
strong-willed, very controlling. So they tended to be controlling of me because this is what I think people don't realize. The relationship to a mother and a son is a very critical one. And if
Hmm.
that is not healthy, it will come up in marriage because that's the first time that a young man realizes how he's supposed to treat a woman. Is how he treats his mama.
Okay. Now, just to help me understand,
Hmm.
do you think that in all three relationships that what you know about the mother and son relationship or the family
Hmm.
background,
Hmm.
maybe did was the father in those relationships abusive to his mother, their mothers,
And that could be a possibility in that.
and
I can't say for the first one, so to speak, or the second, but the third one, yes, absolutely, the third one. But I
because
will also say there are other factors you got to consider, Vernon, besides just that background. You
mhm,
also got to consider psychologically where they are. You
okay,
know, there were a couple that I was married to that were not mentally well,
yeah, yeah,
so that was the factor too.
okay. So, but I think some of these behaviors are learned behaviors, okay,
Hmm.
because the sons see their mothers being treated in a certain way, and
Yes.
they grew up with that. They
Hmm.
probably think that is the norm. For that's how men should treat women
Right.
if they hadn't
Right.
taught they hadn't been taught any better. Because I know a lot of folks that grew up in abusive households, they become abusers, and so that's their worldview on life is that. But that's why my daddy treat my mama. That's where you're supposed to treat women. So in their heads, okay. So that's probably one factor. I'm certain that other factor, like you said, the psychological factor is definitely an issue, and those with those narcissistic behaviors is a given fact. That's a psychological um, issue that is you got to how to deal with. Let me ask you this point, okay? They said
Sure.
three strikes you out, and I guess after three strikes you got out. So
It's almost like get the dog going back. Okay, I'm going back to the Baptist box. Okay, here we go.
yes. Now let me ask you this then: when you did that, okay, when number one, okay,
Hmm.
you saw that behavior number one, right? Then you
Yes.
got into number two, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then to number three. Are some of
Yeah.
those some of those traits um, kind of attractive or something like that? I know you have to see.
Okay. Okay.
I
I knew where you were going with this, Vernon. I knew exactly where you're going with this.
Me
Okay.
too.
So I
I do
think what we
too.
need to this is what I had to accept. You talk
okay,
about ownership, right, Evangelist? Talk about ownership. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I
And I'll
had to
give you mine.
own the fact. I had to own the fact that it was because of me what I was attracting.
okay,
I had to accept what
okay,
was it
but
in me that
okay,
was
all right,
attracting that.
okay. Now, Tawana, I'll let you in, Carol, a little bit. Just hold on, cause I'm
Go
old
ahead.
and I forget. In those factors, those traits that you had, okay, that
Hmm.
you own. Where do you think they came from? I mean, why do you think that you had to be attracted to that kind of person? Now, the reason I say that because I know some narcissistic people, okay,
Hmm.
and their viewpoint is that they seek out people that they think need nurturing, needs them and so forth. Okay, so
Hmm. Hmm.
so help me explain that further, if you will.
Well, actually, it's an interesting thing that you bring that up because actually, my ex mentioned to me this not too long ago is that there was a part of him he felt like he was trying to help me, trying to save me, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
You know, he saw how vulnerable I was. He saw how broken I was. He saw all those different things. So in his mindset, he was thinking, you know, well, if I get her to be like this, then she'll be fine, right? But and I was thinking that, well, he seems like he's trying to take some care into me and is concerned about me. So that's kind of like how I kind of got involved in the relationship in the first place. But there were red flags that I was starting to see that I chose to ignore because I thought, well, at least he's paying attention. I mean, at least he's
Oh,
there.
okay.
At least he seems to care. So I'm going to do my best to work with it. But a lot of that, I believe, is because, and I'm going to be honest, my father, who was a Baptist pastor also, he didn't know how to show that soft, vulnerable, loving part of him with me because he didn't have it to give, because he wasn't taught that. So he knew how to provide, he knew how to be present, but that's all he could be. And I remember one day he told me, he said, Tawana, I can't give you what I don't have.
Wow.
And he was honest enough to say that. But then it was up to me to figure out, okay, since he couldn't do it, then what's going on with me? Why am I making these decisions? Why am I doing these different things? And I realized that was because I'm broken. I'm depressed. I'm lonely. I'm vulnerable. And I'm open to just basically whoever is willing to give me a bit of attention because I was longing for that when I was a child. And so, in doing so, I started being accepting of things that really I should not have ignored and I should have paid attention to.
So,
Because now with the mindset I have now versus what I had 13 years ago, oh, I wouldn't have to pay no mind. I
so
wouldn't have
let me.
paid no mind.
I got this last question. Then I'll turn it back over to Karen because she's itching. I know she got a lot of questions there. Now, so
I'm just
so
shocked
what?
with you, Vernon. You go ahead. I'm just shocked with Vernon.
Well, I just want to know then. So what are you doing? So what are you doing for yourself to help fix yourself? Obviously, you take ownership of some of the things you've done, and some of
Mm-hmm.
it is on you, right? And some
Mm-hmm.
of it is just like you said, from your childhood. How are you helping yourself to deal with this, or how did you help yourself?
The way that I helped myself was real simple. Not only did I forgive them, right? I forgave my father because he didn't have it in him to do it. God rest his soul, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was thankful for what he could do. I was thankful for what he did teach me. How to be a radical voice and not be afraid to be authentically yourself. I'm grateful for that. That's the legacy he left. But what I had to realize in forgiving everybody else, I forgave everybody else. Here's the kicker: I had to forgive me.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But I had to forgive me because that was the way that I could dismantle the power of the enemy to use the past ever again against me. I had to accept, okay, I screwed up. I made that choice. Okay, I accept it. Okay, I should not have went that way. Okay, all right, fine, I did that. Okay, now, Lord, look, I'm willing to forgive myself. I trust you can give me the strength to do it. Now, help me find a better way to live my life the way I need to. And help me find a better way to do this your way so I won't find myself ever back here again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I got both of you ladies is been in the same place. You been abused, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of this show is no more silence, okay?
Mhm.
And I'm assuming then that what you don't go to school for it, just like we say, but what cultivate that silence or that the need to just keep it privately? Is it embarrassment or is it fear? Why is it that you feel when you're going through these situations? Okay, why
Mhm.
did you feel to have to remain silent with it?
Um, I had to remain silent because I was fearful of what others would view of me, especially somebody that's in the
Oh,
public eye. Like, especially me being a pastor's wife and,
oh,
being known.
uh huh.
How would that look if I say anything about it, right? So
Right.
my whole responsibility was about keeping up appearances, keeping it up, making sure that I look good, making sure my makeup was good, my face is slayed out, hair's all this stuff, I having this warm, calm, loving, kind, but knowing deep down inside of me, I was crying out for help. I was screaming. It was like the silent scream
Mm,
that was in me that I felt like I couldn't release because I
mm.
knew if I would have released it, they wouldn't know what to do. It would have been like the kettle when it finally just goes off. It would have been not just damaging me, but everybody around me.
Wow.
So that's why I
Okay.
kept it quiet.
Okay. Carolyn, I want to turn
I
it back.
think
I know you anxious to get in here. Now I'm turning it back over to you now, so you can get your 2 cents in. Okay.
okay. What people fail to realize is that because I can relate with the three relationships because I was in three relationships of abuse. Um, and what happens is you get out of one abuse and go into another one. And so you have not been healed. You cannot
Mhm.
see it if you have not been healed from it. And so
Exactly.
you don't really recognize it, you don't really pay it in attention, even though it may look like the same, might be the same, but you don't pay it in attention because you're not healed. And as long as you're not healed, you are blind. You're trying to fulfill you're trying to get somebody to fulfill something that they cannot fulfill because
Cannot.
you're not whole, you are broken, you're looking for the next person to heal you, to provide what you need, and they cannot do that. So you really don't recognize that. And one of the things that you said, and I can resonate with, is that silent cry within hoping. I remember, um, it's probably been about 6 months ago, and I was talking to my oldest daughter because she remember a lot of things. And during the time I was going back to night school to get my degree, which he didn't want me to, and I was pregnant. And she said, "Mom, you went in the classroom. Listen, to this Burner." She said, "You was in the classroom. There were 20 students in the classroom. You had a black eye. You did not have on shades, and no one came up to you and asked you, 'How did you get that black eye?'" She said, "I was sitting there as a child, hoping that they would say something. They would ask, 'What is going on?' And nobody asked me anything because she was thinking that was going to be our way out. But I want you to know, if you are in a domestic violence relationship, you can pick up the phone and you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. You can call the Florida Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-500-119. You can also call Favor House, 850-434-1177. You can call Jamie's House, which is the program that I have, is 850-291-4624. And I'm getting ready to connect with the military, so you can call the military hotline, 1-877-995-5247. You don't have to be silent. You don't have to suffer in that all alone. I don't care whether you're in the church or out of the church. You do not have to go through this alone. You can also call Dr. Tawana. Her website. What's your website, Dr. Tawana?
Beacon of Hope Champions.org.
Okay. Okay. So this has been very good. I can tell Vernon was right on it with this because he let us stay on longer. But
Yes.
I want to say this. This is one of the things that my husband used to tell my sons and my daughter, he said, he would tell the sons, he said, tell the daughters, watch how the man treat his mom. If you want to ever know what type of man it is, watch how he treats his mom. I could not understand how my son, during the time he's the oldest son, but my baby son does it now. How my oldest son will buy flowers for, want to buy flowers, want to buy rain, want to buy candy. I'm like, why you buying all that? Why you buying that all for? And then it clicked on me. You saw your father doing this with me. This is the good husband. This is the one that I was not in the abuse. Now the others,
Yes,
that's a different story. he was 2 years old during that time. But if you ever want to know, meet the family, go around the family, watch how he treats his mom, watch how the woman treats her mom, her dad, because men does women abuse also. So this Tawana, we're gonna have you back. We're gonna definitely we're definitely going to have you back. You are the second one. You are the second one that came forward, because Vernon was just shocked. He said, I just, and there's a lot of people that's like, I just can't believe that this is happening in church. And one thing about it, as being leaders, yes, we are human, but we are at a higher standard. We are at a higher standard. We have no excuse. Yes, we are human, but if you are a pastor, if you are a man of God, a woman of God, and you're going through, you're abusing your wife, abusing your husband, you need to find someone that you can talk to. Do not let this continue to go on, because guess what? It's going to get out. It's going to get out. Your secret that you think that a secret, the man or the woman is going to get tired of, and it's you going to be exposed. It's going to come out. And I want to talk to that pastor. I want to talk to that pastor that feels like, okay, she's doing the wrong thing. She's bringing her husband. No, he brought himself down. He brought himself down. I thank God that she was woman enough to get out of that and not continue to be in that until she end up dead. And then everybody wants to say, well, why did she come out of it? Why did she get up out of it? No. She came out alive, and I thank God for that. So don't blame her. Don't say she split up the church. No, I don't want you to feel like you split up the church. No, you did the right thing, because God said you are to love your husband or your wife as Christ loved the church. So I don't want you to think that you did anything wrong. You are doing the right thing by letting other women know that they are not alone. They are not alone. They are not alone. You did the right thing, because they would never know. Because what would happen is that man or that woman will go get another one and do the same thing if they have not went to get help. I'm saying that if you're a man or a woman and you are abusive, you need to go and get help. You need help. If you don't get help, you're going to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. The last one came out alive, but don't mean the next one will come out alive, because it builds up in you. It builds up in you. The anger builds up in you. And what they do, Tawana, Dr. Tawana, what they do is they know, okay, I lost the other one. She came out. I'm going to make sure this next one ain't going to come. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Question.
It is happening.
All right, Carolyn, and since I got both of you on here, and so both of you went through similar experiences. Okay, what do you recommend for people in those situations to do now? And Carolyn, you and I talked about it many times, that you might not want to do anything drastic, but you can do certain things subtly. How does one prepare to remove themselves from these kinds of situations, particularly when there is the fear factor is involved?
Well, Vernon, I tell them that don't do like I did. I just packed. I told them I'm leaving, and when you're getting ready to leave, that is the most dangerous time. And I didn't
It
know
is.
that then. And that's when I got
It
shot.
is.
You need to have a plan. You can't just get up and leave. You need to have a plan. You need to have, like I say all the time, your code might be dog, and somebody in the family or your neighbor need to know that code, dog. If you say dog, know something is wrong. You need to get your finance together. You need to go get your birth certificate, the children's birth certificate. You need to get the social security cards together. You need to get you some clothes together. Even if you put it up under the house, don't put it in the car, and don't tell him you're going to leave him. That is
Mm-mm.
dangerous for you to say,
Don't
I'm
do
going
that.
to leave. Just do it. Just do it. Get you a plan. When you plan on leaving, get you some finances together, stick you some money aside. And that you need that just in case. You need to start. You need to plan something. Where you gonna go? Who you gonna contact? Tell your children. Give them the code. If mama say dog, they know to get on the phone and call the police. They know to call a neighbor. They know to call a family member. Let them know what the code is. Don't tell them that you're going to leave. And so many times out of being angry, I'm going to leave you. You might not leave alive. You might not leave alive if you say that. So it's best that you get a plan. If you don't know what to do, you can call me at 850-291-4624. You can call Favor House 850-434-1177, other domestic violence hotline 1-800-799-7233. And then you might be at the point that you're not ready to leave. I understand that. I have talked to women and they say they're not ready to leave. It takes 7 times. And I respect that because I went back even after getting shot. So I do understand that. But even if you don't, get the information. Information is powerful. Powerful. You need to call those numbers and just get the information. So in case you need it, you have the information that you need. Don't expect, the police officers, don't expect them to, I'm not saying that they won't help you, but you have to empower yourself. If you're in that
Absolutely.
relationship, you need to get all the information you need to get. Don't expect anyone to empower you. You need to empower yourself. Get on the internet and get some. Go to the library. Don't get on the internet at home because you can go through the search and see what you've been looking at. Go to the library. Research, get the information you need in order to be able to leave. Tawana?
Yep, actually, I agree with everything that you just said. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what I did. I did not tell my ex I was leaving that day. I did not. That was something God gave me a strategy that I was just actually telling a friend of mine before I got on this broadcast that I was led by God to get the strategy I need. I remember one day I was driving the van that we were doing the business with, and he said, "Now is the time." And he gave me the strategy. He said, "Leave now. I will give you a breather of time. Leave now. Go home. Grab your things." I grabbed all the things I could. I called my mother and I said, "Mom, I'm coming home. I'm coming home." And she said, "Come on home." And so I was able to go to her house and go ahead and get her things. My son was at school at the time. So we stayed at school and I was able to go and pick him up along my mom that day. And that's when I was able to bring him to my house, to my mom's house. And that's when I sent the text message to my ex and said, "You can come pick up Josiah from my mom's house, but I'm not coming home."
Mm,
So
yeah, yeah.
at that point, I was in a protective space
Mm-hmm,
where he
mm-hmm,
couldn't do anything. So at that point, all
mm-hmm,
he can do was just pick up my son, and he left.
mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And,
as
and,
you
and
see,
Dr.
as you can see, ladies, I had a plan though. That was a plan though.
Tawana, Mm-hmm. And Dr. Tawana, I understand what you're saying, but one of the things that we have to realize as being Christians and being women of God, there are people that watch our shows, that watches our lives, and they're not saved. So they don't know nothing
Mm-mm.
about hearing from God, getting a plan from God, and this and that.
Mm.
We know because we are saved, and I'm not leaving God out, but there
Oh
are
yeah, I know
women
what you
that
mean.
are not.
Absolutely.
You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
We want to. This is one of the things that God said to me. He said just the other day, I was in the grocery store. He told me, he said, "I don't want you to preach Jesus. I want you to be Jesus." Mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
And the young
Mm-hmm.
lady, I never said anything about Jesus, but I was being Jesus. You follow what I'm saying?
Oh
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
showing, I was showing love. I was showing,
Right.
I was showing love. So we
We
are, we have people that are saved, and we have people that are not saved. So we need to be able to reach really the saved and the unsaved.
Yeah,
Correct?
we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to
Yeah.
do that. But I guess I can tell you what the beautiful thing is that through NAMI I'm able to do that. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
preach Jesus either, but
Wow.
I be that. And we even have a class that we teach about the wellness recovery action plan, in which we help people develop action plans proactively before a crisis happens. So that's not something that's biblically based, so to speak, but it's based on sound concepts though. And so
Mm,
I have a plan myself that, and I've distributed to the people that need to be, that they know their responsibilities. Is like, if this goes down, this is what your responsibilities are. This is where I don't want to be treated at. This is the type of treatment I won't accept. This is who I want you to contact. This is whom I don't want you to contact. And you want to do that
mm-hmm.
in a mindset when you're in a mindset that's clear. Because
Mm-hmm.
when crisis happens, your mind's not going to be clear enough to make those kind of decisions. So yes, I
Can you
totally
give
get
us
what you're
that
saying.
information about that, Naomi? Can you give us that? How do they get in contact with you to be able to attend that class? What do they need to do? Tell us what they need to do.
Yes, you can go to our website, which is NAMI, NAMIEC for NAMI Emerald Coast.
Okay, but I do. Before we close out tonight, I do want women and men that are in those relationships to realize is this, that during the time that I was in it, I was not saved. The only way that I've been able to stay completely out of those relationships is by God. I had to be healed, and I had to start taking a look at me. As long as I kept blaming the person, I kept getting the same results. I had to start
Mm-hmm.
looking at me and allow God to heal me. You might not be there yet, but you know what? Take the steps forward. Take the steps forward. Even though you might not even be saved, don't know nothing about God, don't want to hear nothing about God, take the steps. It doesn't take you, in order for you to take the steps, you don't need to be saved to take the steps. You can take the
Mm.
steps right where you're at to be able to come out of that. And as you
Yes.
on this road of recovery, you will come in contact with God. He will help you where you don't repeat that over and over again. The only way I was able to break this cycle after being in 3 abusive relationships is through God. Through God. It took me a while, but I stayed up at night because I was brought up in the church, and I asked him, how do I come out of this? No money, because he didn't allow me to work. He would only give me $20. I didn't have no money, but God told me exactly how to come out. It was not a person. It was God that told me what to do. And then when I made the decision to come out, he made provision. He made provision. My sister that was in service, she paid for my divorce. But if you don't make up your mind to come out, you can never get the resources, get everything that you need. So you can visit Jamie's house at www.jamieshouse.org. You can also go Cash App is $JAMIESHOUSE 20. We are a nonprofit organization. We are under the umbrella of Faith Temple Believers. So if you want to donate to Jamie's house, you're welcome to do so. Tawana, oh my God, I don't know. I think we're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour, so I know we get ready to wrap it up. This has been, oh my goodness. I told you 7:30, and Vernon let us go to 8 o'clock. Vernon, do you want to ask another question before we get up?
That's what I was saying. I was like, okay, okay, I guess I'm all
I
right.
told you 7:30, but Vernon got so deep in it, he wanted to know why. Yeah, he had questions. I mean, he asked him. I am so proud of Vernon. Good job, Vernon. Good job.
Hey, I'm just nosy. I'm just nosy like that.
I want to say something before I say something. WBPQ TV. Vernon Watson, he support domestic violence.
Amen.
He support domestic violence. He allowed me to come on and we co-host together, and he support domestic violence. He does not want to see anyone go through that. That's why this show is being aired. And for that,
Amen.
this is Black History Month. And I want to say salute and thank you to Verna, my co-host. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to do what I am called to do what I am passionate about, and supporting those that are in domestic violence. Verna, you want to say something?
Yeah, Carolyn, I never been in a situation like that. No, I noticed any violence. My father was never abusive to my mother, and I never seen that. But I guess is how you was raised, and my mother and my father, and I never ever seen my father put his hands on my mother. Period. Period. But they always taught us to respect women, and we hear about stuff like that and people putting hands on women, stuff like that, and that was a no. And even that's how I was raised, and I don't believe that it should be done. And it's amazing. And what's just more amazing to me, we got to get out of here, y'all. But more amazing to me when people the cloth justifies and does it, and I just but I think just Teron said, because they're human, and all humans are subject to frailties and weaknesses and so forth. But at least this show is there to at least have folks to know, and why, some people, why, you did it 3 times. Each of you went through it 3 times. Why? That's the purpose of this show, so you can understand it's just not as easy as one thing to just get up and walk away. A lot of factors
Right.
involved. All right, ladies, I literally got only about 30 seconds. I'm gonna give you 15 seconds each to say what you want to say, okay? And let's start. Let's start with T1 first, okay?
Okay.
Dr. Tawana.
Well, I just want to say
Tawana.
thank you for allowing me to be on this broadcast tonight. I consider it an honor to be with you, Evangelist Carolyn, with you, Mr. Vernon, and I'm just hoping that somebody got something out of this tonight. So thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Caroline.
Dr. Tawana, I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. You have enlightened me, enlightened the people that are listening to the broadcast. And I want you, if you're on here, I want you to know that you are not alone. You do not have to be silent. Pick up the phone, call the phone numbers that we left, and someone will help you. If you need resources on how to come out, you can. Next, we'll be back on the 4th Thursday in March, and I'm going to have someone on from the state attorney's office that deal with domestic violence. So you want to tune in next month on the 4th Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock.
All right, ladies. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all. We'll see you next month.
See you next month.